You should aim to raise the competition around you and also try to surround yourself with the best. And I'll tell you why right now. So it may not be completely clear why you should try to surround yourself with the best. But to keep it simple, you don't want to be a big fish in a small pond. A simple example of this is with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Just so you have some baseline knowledge of Jiu-Jitsu, the first belt is typically the white belt and the last belt is the black belt. Technically there are some belts after that, but just keep it simple. A black belt is typically the master and the white belt is typically someone who's just started who doesn't really have any understanding of what's going on. So if you are a black belt, you don't want to train in a gym full of white belts. You would be unbeatable in such a gym. You're training against a bunch of people who don't have any clue what's going on. And if you go to another gym and the competition's stiffer, you'll no longer be able to compete. You're able to rely on moves that had technical flaws, or you're able to use brute strength or just understanding of position to beat a bunch of people who have no clue what's going on, where at these other gyms, they're gonna have people who train just as hard as you, who actually train against people who are good and actually have good training partners. That's a more outlandish example with like the type of belts you'd have in a certain gym, but the principle still applies, where you want to raise the competition around yourself in order to be able to really compete at the highest level. Some would argue that the internet solves this problem because you have all this information in the palm of your hand. And I would agree to some degree, but there are some issues with relying solely on the internet. It is true that the internet is vast and wide-ranging in topics that it contains, but it also means that you're gonna have to filter through all those sites, all that information in order to find what you're looking for. And you also have to rely on that information being accurate. There are gonna be many times where you find information that's either inaccurate or just incomplete. In the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you can see a move online due to YouTube or something like that and see all the different moves and different positions it requires, but still not be able to actually do it. Or you may be able to do it, but not actually apply the move to any other individual. People can leave out key details which will make moves unsuccessful against someone who actually knows what's going on. Or if you're in a situation similar to the one I described before, a black belt versus a bunch of white belts, you may not actually ever see how a good competitor reacts to such a move. You may be able to use it against a bunch of white belts because it's a strong move that people don't understand because it's complex, but against someone who actually knows what's going on, they may have different reactions, different counters, which you may not have been exposed to. So whenever you try to use it against someone who is skilled, you may not actually be able to do it. It may put you in a worse position. This can end up building a false sense of security. You can also see it in other aspects of life as well, where something may work all the time for you because you don't know any better. You may not have been exposed to a different move that counters it or a move that's better than it. And this ignorance can end up putting you into a much worse situation where you may be submitted, or maybe you find out that you've been making this critical error in your work or something like that for this vast amount of time because no one else there had the type of knowledge needed in order to raise your skill level. But the challenge I can give to you is smash the like button, subscribe. Sitting around 49 subscribers right now, trying to reach 100. It really helps to get the channel out and helps to get the videos more traction on YouTube, and I appreciate it. So another example that may be more relevant to you and just the general population is in the workplace. There's a popular saying, iron sharpens iron, and it's really true in a lot of ways. This is very apparent in software consulting, which is what I currently do for a living outside of, make YouTube videos for the 49 of you that watch. We are asked to learn new languages and new technologies all the time. And Google can be a powerful tool, but it doesn't always have the answers that you need. And that's coming from a professional Googler by, my own accolades. Having talented people around you or experienced people will help you to avoid making simple mistakes. Talented people can also save you a lot of time because Google isn't always the simplest answer. There's a lot of resources where you're gonna have to filter through a bunch of Stack Overflow, which is a lot of code. It's basically a lot of coding solutions that the random people on the internet like to put up, where they're not always correct and they're not always the best. Where if you actually have talented people in the office with you or talented people that you can contact, they can give you the actual right solution at the beginning rather than making you go back and have to redo it again anyway. Another benefit of having skilled people around you is whenever they raise their skills, you're naturally going to have to raise your skill level in order to stay relevant. As long as you don't become complacent, this push-pull relationship you have with the people around you will help you grow your skill set to the level that you may not have been able to do otherwise. This will require a different kind of mindset. If you're someone who lacks confidence, or if you don't want someone to challenge your position, then having someone like this in your office can seem like the worst kind of situation. You may hold a grudge against someone who comes in and challenges you, and you may just want this junior person to stay in their place. You may wonder why they have to go the extra mile to do their job. Why do they have to go and try to make everyone look bad? To me, this is just a weak mindset. And I could really describe it in some other words, but I'd rather not have the video suppressed, so I'll just leave it at that. Because it may make you mad that this junior person gets a raise or promotion before you, But a lot of the situations, if they perform and they earn that promotion, then it's only you who can blame yourself. And yes, there are situations where someone's gonna get a promotion or a raise due to like some social or political reasons, but in the perfect world, people would get the raise based off of their merits and what they do. And that's the kind of situation I'm trying to describe. So there are definitely situations where you could see people get rewarded for things they didn't actually do. Personally, that's why I chose the place I work at. I told them in the first interview that I wanted to find a place to work where I'd be rewarded on my work rather than my tenure. I didn't want to have to wait 3 years in order to get a promotion or something like that. I wanted to be able to push myself to be the best I could be and be surrounded with other people who had the same kind of mindset. My job shouldn't be like Walmart on Black Friday, where you have to wait in line in order to get rewarded. Someone who can reframe a challenging situation into the opportunity to grow is really going to make the distinction between someone who can be good and someone who can be great. Your abilities typically have a direct relationship to the skill level of the people around you. It's kind of funny because I had already planned to make this video before I watched the Joe Rogan and Tom Holland podcast, but they kind of got on this topic as well. They were basically having a discussion over who was the best boxer of all time, or at least best heavyweight in this particular instance, where they were talking about Mike Tyson versus Muhammad Ali. Long story short though, they ended up determining that Muhammad Ali probably would have been better than Mike Tyson if Muhammad Ali was able to compete in the same era as Mike Tyson. It's not always going to be a simple answer because Ali was so great during his time where he didn't really have the same kind of competition that maybe Mike Tyson had, and that if they would have been on the same playing field playing against each other, competing, Muhammad Ali's skill set would have been challenged to grow even more. With all that being said, don't let your mind limit your greatness, for the mind that cannot see the opportunity to take is the mind that becomes satisfied. Thank you for watching the video and see you next week on Modern Mindset.